there, Fight Shank here with an exciting interview partner today, none other than Mark Thompson. So welcome on the call, Mark.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
And that was my very official, radio voice introduction. And from now we can go informal. I tell you, when I got started doing interviews and that kind of thing, and I hit up all the big guys. I mean, really big guys, Dave Allen, that kind of thing. I was never sure how to approach these things, how to speak, until it finally clicked. Like, oh no, we could just have a conversation instead of sounding
right. Yeah, just pretend I'm in the room with you. That's the easiest way to go.
Exactly. If you could see my room, it's such a mess. It's the leftovers of our tax return are still here. Alrighty, so let's get focused on what we want to talk about, which is basically outsourcing. So the reason we're talking with Mark, and I'm so glad to have you on the call, is that I guess you started internet marketing or marketing online a few years before me, and you have figured out in those years how to do outsourcing properly. And I struggled a long time with it. I still have outsources, but I haven't arrived at a place where maybe not 100%, but outsourced almost everything. So what I'd love to talk to you about today is the different stages you went through and what you see where the trends are, what people are struggling with, where you see opportunities, that kind of stuff. And then maybe we split it into online and then first online and then maybe a little bit on offline for people who provide a service, offline consulting. So let's start with maybe a few words about you. How do you get started, and then at what point do you go, I need some outsourcing going, otherwise I'm just going to be swamped?
Sure. Yeah, I'll try to give you the I'll try to give you the 5-minute rundown of my career in internet marketing. I've been doing internet. Excuse me. I'm sorry. It's the holidays and it's starting. The change of weather here is giving me a little bit of a cold, so I apologize if I'm a little stuffy. But,
see, Mark, that's what I tend to say as well. It's the weather, but really it's me shouting at the kids, isn't it?
It's a combination of both. So I've been internet marketing for about 8 years. I started in the offline world. I worked for a few different marketing agencies before I went off on my own, and so I was managing a lot of SEO and pay-per-click and social media campaigns for a number of clients. And so I started outsourcing for those agencies. So I quickly found out that hey, I can't do everything in-house. We had a small marketing team within our agency, and I needed people that could do some of the grunt work. Like we were doing a lot of SEO, and so a lot of SEO requires link building, and that's very tedious. And so I started just learning how to do outsourcing. Just from that, I needed people that could do some of the grunt work, and so that was really the first time that I was exposed to outsourcing, was doing managing link building, or link builders, I should say, for our SEO campaigns. And so that's where I first started, and that was really all I started outsourcing. And then after about 3 or 4 years of working for a few different agencies locally here, I went off and started my own offline business. And so I was doing the exact same thing that I was doing for agencies, but I was doing it for myself. Okay. And so I still was doing a little bit of outsourcing, again, just very minimal in terms of just getting some link builders on staff to help with our SEO campaigns.
Where did you get your staff from? Did you go overseas or did you employ locally?
Yeah, it was all overseas. I started on Odesk. I know there's Odesk and Freelancer, VWorker. There's lots of different websites out there with just huge databases of virtual staff who will work for pennies. I found quickly that you could hire for a few dollars an hour, and I found that was a normal wage for people living in the Philippines or in India or Pakistan and other parts of the world. Which I wasn't accustomed to. I didn't realize that people were making a few dollars an hour, and then that was somewhat normal for people living in different parts of the world. And the hardest thing that I quickly realized was it's not so easy as just hiring someone and that person doing everything that you want them to do. I mean, it takes it could take 4, 5, 10 different people to find the right person or right people to employ, and of course you need to have systems in place. You need to have take time to train the people properly. And so I didn't realize that when I first started outsourcing. So for the longest time,
Mark,
I didn't have any.
I got to tell you, that was my personal experience. Here's my classic story. I still need to laugh at that. SEO. Same again. I started with SEO backlinking back in the days when backlinking ruled, and so I hired a company who on the Warrior Forum who said we've got trained people, $300 a month, and they do all your link building for you. So at the time, there was a launch by Jeff Walker, product launch formula. So I set up all kinds of content, spun content, blah, 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 for product launch formula. So these guys are building links like mad. And I look at the reports every week or so, and after a week of them going full out and building gazillions of links, I noticed that they'd also spun the AnchorText product launch formula. So this was now turned into a service launch pad all kinds of system instead of product launch formula, and I'm going, oh my goodness, the training part is so important. If you just think, oh, here you go, because they say they can do SEO, no, they can't. Anyway, over to you.
Yeah, no, and so I realized that training was a big part of outsourcing. You need to teach them the proper way to do, regardless of what it is in your business that you want them to do. And so when I was working for an agency, I was getting paid a salary, so it wasn't the money wasn't coming out of my pocket per se. I had a budget and I was getting paid a salary, so if I had to spend extra time just training them, that's fine. It was part of my job. But what I quickly realized is when I went off on my own and the money that was being generated for the business came directly out of my pocket, the expenses were coming directly out of my pocket, I needed to make sure that I could streamline things. And that's really when I started to focus more on building systems. And so one of the things that I did to help streamline that system was I built a training center for my virtual assistants. And we were, when I went off on my own, I was doing the same stuff. I was managing SEO and social media campaigns. So what I did was I created a training portal for them saying, okay, this is the proper way to build links. This is the proper way to conduct research. This is the proper way to manage a Facebook fan page. And so having that system in place, instead of me going through and personally training them, I say, here, go through the videos that I created, learn the system, practice a few, updates on a fan page, or practice building some links. I'll go through, I'll see how you did, and then I'll offer some feedback. And so that was kind of my first crack at streamlining a system of building up, and the great part of having that training portal was that I could bring on as many people as I wanted to, and I would just keep feeding them into that training. And so, we put together a project management system where we could delegate milestones and tasks and all that stuff. And that's really when I was able to kind of pick up the pace in terms of outsourcing. Now, finding outsourcers and finding the right people is a whole nother discussion. But where when I was able to open up my time was when I was able to document everything and give them a step-by-step blueprint to follow.
Okay. Cool. What is your experience finding people who can think for themselves? This kind of has to, it's not meant in a negative way at all. My big trouble was, first of all, I'm basically born and raised in the Western world here, Western Hemisphere, Atmosphere, yes. And the big problem was basically that whenever I talk to people from Southeast Asia, they all say yes all the time. I go, can you do this? Yeah, of course I can. And then you go back and go, no, you didn't. You had no idea what you're doing. You're completely messing it up. So that is the one thing, or one side of the equation. The other one is that with a lot of tasks, if it's purely step by step, do this, do that, click on this button, fine, I managed to get that working. But anything that requires independent thinking, bit of creativity. So think, for example, writing high-quality articles. You basically need to have some subject knowledge. You need to know the topic. Otherwise, you're just going to go, well, take the keyword and spin some random rubbish. Now, that's just one example. But anything where you go, if you want to be as generic as, okay, set up the site like the other one over here, and then put that video in the middle, and it'll be fine. That I never managed to get to work because people then do all kinds of stuff. They have a totally different interpretation of what it means to set up one page like the other. So what's your experience there working with, as you're saying, a lot of people from Pakistan, the Philippines, and India?
Yeah. Well, I really separate people into buckets, and I don't mean to do this. It's just kind of how I think of it. So there's the people that, again, like you were just talking about, they can follow directions, but they need it to be step by step, and they can never really stray away from that system, right? They don't have that creative side of their brain or whatever. They do what you tell them to do, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it depends on what it is that they're doing. And what I found, especially once I went into the online world where I was creating products, specifically software, I found that I really needed creative developers and designers, and that's a challenge. It's very hard to do it. And what I've noticed is that the more creative they are, that have a lot of skills, particularly like development skills, those people you're going to have to pay more than $300 a month. The people that are doing link building, and you give them the system and they do it just down to a T what you taught them. That's kind of one bucket of people, and those people are usually the $300 to $600 a month. They do what you tell them to do, and then you have the creative side, which is going to be a little bit more costly. If you want someone that is a developer or a designer that you say, here is what I'm looking to build, or this is what I want you to do, help me refine the process, help me make this better than what I have right here. Those types of people have more experience, they're more creative, and in turn you're going to have to pay them a little bit more. So like the developers and designers that I have on my staff, I want that creativity, and I'm fine with paying them a little bit more to get that type of feedback from them, because I'm only as good as my brain will allow me to, and I need to be surrounded by talented people. And now
Absolutely.
There's always that challenge. Well, I'm just starting out. I can't afford to pay someone $1,000, $1,500 a month for that type of creative person. And so when I first started, I found those kind of grunt workers, those people that could follow a system. And as I started to build revenue into my business, I would start to invest it into more creative thinking and try to bring more talented people around me.
So quick question around that one then. Do you have them on, are they fixed staff now? So the guys who get whatever, $1,000 or maybe $1,500, are they like, they're employed forever and ever, or do you dip in and out? The reason I'm asking is this. I've hired many programmers through Odesk, Freelancer, and all these places, and typically I ended up with solopreneurs. So here's a programmer, he's very good at what he's doing, he knows marketing, he understands users, so brilliant at what he does, but unfortunately, oh look, it's suddenly exam time. You're going, what? You've got exam time? I thought you're a professional programmer. No, well actually I'm a student, and then it's like, right, I've just finished my exam, so I'm drunk for 3 days. I'm going, for crying out loud, I told you we're launching. So I've always had the thing where I run into these guys who are on the surface seem very good, and they understand everything, and they've got a fair price, and then it turns out they're solopreneurs. And of course the big problem is if you've got a project where you need customer service, you need to do bug fixes, you've got a launch maybe where lots of people are suddenly finding something, you need people to be very responsive. So what's your take there? Yeah. Do you hire them permanently, or?
Yeah, well, to answer your first question, so I've gotten to a point in my business where I'm able to hire full-time staff. Now, that obviously didn't happen overnight, and I've gone through a lot of virtual assistants and virtual workers to find the right team. That does take time, and there's no silver bullet to just finding the right people immediately, and you may need to grow into a full-time staff. And so that's probably the biggest challenge that people have is trying to balance finding part-time people and when you're first starting out to then growing to a point where you can have full-time staff. Because to me, full-time staff is by far the best, because you can make them accountable for what they're doing. If they're part-time, you're hiring someone on Odesk to help you with a project, or a few hours here and there, they're not dedicated to you. They may have 8, 10, 15 other projects that they're working on with different employers, and they're not solely focused on your goals and what you're looking to do. And so that is a real challenge that a lot of people face. And so it's one of those things where it's going to take time to find the right people. It's going to take time to have enough revenue flowing through your business where you can hire full time. But once you find the right person or right people, it's important to do whatever you can to try to hang on to them. And one of the things that I've done and it's worked really successfully is try to find referrals. I mean, referrals are by far and away the best way to find solid contractors or virtual assistants, because you think about it. If you need to repair your roof, or you need a plumber, or whoever, what's the first thing you're going to do? You may ask some of your friends or family, hey, how was that guy that just came by and redid your roof? I actually need a roofer as well. And if they say, oh, he was great, you'll probably want to hire them. But if you go to the Yellow Pages and you just find the first roofer, you're not sure how good he's going to be. So referrals and getting positive feedback from people is really important. And the same thing applies with hiring employees.
Hey, Mark, give me 1 second. I just to grab the door. I'll be right back.
Sure.
Okay. Alrighty. Cool. Okay. So let's look at then. Well, okay, you've got a very specific situation. You basically have a business that develops software. I guess you have a team for developing the software. You also have people for things like copywriting, tech support, all that kind of stuff.
Yes. So just a little bit of background again. So I've kind of migrated from doing offline work, like client work, to doing 100% online. So I still have a few offline clients, but I'd say 95% of my business is now product creation, affiliate marketing. It's all online stuff now. So so for the longest time, what I would do is find contractors. Just, hey, I have this product idea. I need to find someone who can fulfill creating the product for me. And I would handle all the marketing, the JV relationships. I'd basically contract every part out. As I started to generate revenue for my business, that's when I started to build a team around me. And so, I started off with one full-time developer and a part-time designer, a copywriter who was on contract based on the project, and I would just pull in those bits and pieces as I needed. And so as I started to grow and as we started to take on more projects at one time, that one full-time programmer turned into two full-time programmers, and then two full-time programmers and a full-time designer. And then from there, I recently hired a JV manager because that was taking up a lot of my time. And so what you need to do is analyze, okay, what is it that's taking up all of my time, and how can I go about inserting someone to manage that part of my business for me, so you can always be focused on the high-level strategic part of your business and focus on growing it, the business development side of it.
Okay, cool. Is your JV manager Edwin?
Yeah, so I just hired Edwin to basically handle all of our product launches.
So it was you who took it off the market.
Yeah, so again, like that goes back to what I'm talking about. Like Edwin, so he's our new JV manager. His name is Edwin Ryan. He's a great guy. I was just watching all the stuff that he was doing in the different spaces that we all internet marketers hang out in, all the Facebook groups, and just seeing his emails and stuff. And I loved what he was doing. And so that was an opportunity that I saw to see if he would want to come on board with us. And so, that it was kind of a referral, because I've had a lot of people talk to me about him. And then the other side of it was just seeing what he was doing for his own, for managing launches and doing that stuff. And I'm like, he would be a perfect fit for what we're trying to do. And so it's always important to try to find opportunities like that. And I did the same thing with the development side of things. I saw a piece of software that I absolutely loved, and I'm like, I got to find out who developed this, because I need to work with that person. And so, same thing, it applies for everything. Copywriting. If you see a really good sales letter and you're like, man, that is awesome copy, find out who wrote it. And now not everybody is going to be able to work with you. Maybe they're already staffed with someone else, but they may be a contractor looking for work. And so I found plenty of people just by saying, man, I really love what they did. I got to find out who did it, who did that.
Perfect. Let's look at, maybe wrap this online part up with, and by the way, I think it's brilliant because usually what you hear is outsourcing is so incredibly easy. You just hire a couple of people and here's the interview process you do step by step and, blah, blah, blah. And my reality was like, freaking hell, this is, it's not pleasant. And to hear from you who's done it so successfully that, actually, it requires a lot of people you need to go through, and then, here's how you look out for it. It's brilliant. It's great to hear. So let's wrap up this online part with the reality for a lot of people is they don't actually want to go and develop software. They're probably more like, hey, I want to do maybe some affiliate marketing, build a list, maybe do some social, that kind of thing. Do you have any, maybe not first-hand, but, maybe have contacts who are outsourcing that part of thing? I'm thinking, for example, Chris Munch. He does all the affiliate marketing, but then again, he builds his list through product launches. So I'm just wondering, outsourcing for someone who's just getting started and then will go, right, I want to actually set up a site or a number of sites and then drive traffic. Because the only thing I can think of is like, if you set up one site around one product, well, that's probably what you do yourself. But then the continual driving traffic, that might be something you might want to outsource. Any insights there?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, first and foremost, you need to find out what's eating up all of your time, and you need to understand what you're good at and what you're not good at. So, like for me, I obviously knew that the technical side was a challenge. I could probably open up Photoshop and figure out how to create a graphic in Photoshop, but it would take me 4 hours to do it. Whereas I could hire a designer, and I could, I could pay them for 20 minutes of work, and they would crank out a graphic for me. So you need to figure out what you're good at and what you're not. You also need to figure out what is eating up a lot of your time. So productivity tips, all that kind of stuff. Are you on Skype all day long? Are you checking your email? Are you on a cell phone all day long? Find out what's taking up all of your time, and figure out a way that you can either remove it from your day or you can outsource it.
So I'm going to find someone to ride my bicycle for me.
Exactly. Yeah. Go do your grocery shopping and stuff like that, right?
Well, kidding aside, Eben Pagan does that. He's got, got household staff who do, very, very simple things like, come on over and give me some quarters and, put them in this parking meter whilst I'm in here having a business meeting. Like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's, think of it this way, just think of it like, could I pay someone X number of dollars to do a certain task when I could be doing something more beneficial for my business that's going to result in more dollars, right? I could pay someone $5, but guess what? If I could pay someone for $5 to do this for an hour, and I can be doing something else that could generate $100 or $1,000 or whatever, why wouldn't I outsource it?
Exactly. Alrighty, cool. So let's wrap up then with the, okay, so you've said basically it doesn't really matter what it is. You need to focus on the things that are eating up your time, and then that's what you outsource. So let's have a look at, okay, go for it. I
was going to say, I mean, most people start off with a general virtual assistant, someone who can just help you with whatever it may be. Everyone's business is different, so it's hard to say exactly what you need to start out with. So that's why I couldn't give you a clear-cut answer. Hey, you need a technical person. A technical person could be a designer, could be a developer. I noticed that it's hard to find someone who is a developer and a designer. For when I first started out, I hired someone who could help set up squeeze pages, and I handled the copy side of things because at the time I really couldn't afford to pay a copywriter, but they were more of my technical arm, just setting up basic stuff. And then after that, I hired more of a general assistant to help with support because I started to create products, but I needed someone that could answer tickets and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's different for every business.
Yeah, cool. Alrighty, let's have a quick look at offline then. So say you are providing a service, and this is actually a really relevant topic because a lot of offliners know this stuff works and they would love to provide it, but the reality of providing quality SEO, quality social posting, etc., well, you can't really do it yourself. If you've got 100 clients and they all need, link building and, whatever, social SEO and, all that kind of stuff, no, we don't have that bandwidth. And as a business owner, as an offliner, really your focus should be selling anyway and not delivering. Right. So what's your experience there, especially going back to doing SEO?
So are you talking about being able to get the grunt work done, but still providing a quality? Okay. I've tried a few different ways. I've tried hiring all the SEO grunt workers to work under me. I've also, and this has actually worked out better. I've found a staff, or I'm sorry, I found a company that has a staff under them where they manage it for me. It was a company in. Oh God, it's been like 3 or 4. I'm trying to remember, I forgot where they are. Anyways, regardless of where they are, I talked to the person that manages a staff of I think about 20 link builders and kind of SEO gurus or whatever.
Yeah.
And what I did was I worked directly with the director of this company, and we figured out a system, a process that we want to go through. And what this allowed me to do was scale my SEO services, because what I was able to say is, okay, well, for now, I need 1 or 2 link builders, right? I have a few different clients. I don't need a whole team right now. But the good thing was, when I did need more staff, they had those people employed already, and they could teach the processes. And so I didn't have to be, the person training these people all day long. I wrote out to the director, hey, this is the system, this is the process that I'd like your staff to follow. I want you to be able to manage them for me. And so that can be a really good solution for someone that wants to be able to scale their services, but you don't want to necessarily, have to manage all of your team. You work directly with one person who manages that group. And so there's lots of different companies or firms out there, outsourcing companies, that will do this for you. And you can, when you're on Odesk, you can see they'll say if they're an independent contractor or if they're an agency. So sometimes it may take 2 or 3 or 4 different agencies to test out, but if you can find a good agency, it can be a lifesaver, and it really helped me out when I was scaling my business, because I didn't have to keep on trying to find individual contractors and try to manage them myself. I just talked with one person, and then we scaled out as we needed to, and they actually managed all of the link builders for me.
I've got a personal experience there with agencies, and first of all, I was really excited. It was a software project. I think it was Odesk or Freelancer, and one agency replied, and I finally hired them, and we came up with the specification. And the beauty was, basically, they had programmers on staff, they had people specialized in writing specifications, all that kind of stuff. So it was awesome, because one programmer is sick, doesn't matter, another one jumps in. So from that perspective, it was terrific. But you just mentioned you need to go through a couple of agencies, and this one I never worked with again, because despite the fact that the specifications were absolutely brilliant, what happened then was that every time there was a minor thing, like a minor modification of the specification. I'm not asking, my background is programming myself, so I know how horrible it is when someone comes in and changes your specification. But sometimes I'd go, well, move that button a little bit to the left, and go, well, that's not in the specification. And we have to go back through and I'm going, no, we don't. Come on, your programmers are clever enough. And it'd be like, talk to the programmers, and they go, all right, this little one I can do for you, but everything else I need to talk to my boss. And then, so it was beautiful, because, you had the buffer of having an agency, but they were so tied to, and I understand, when people come in and totally change the specification. Oh, I wanted this. No, here's the specification. But if it's something that takes 30 seconds for a programmer, it's just like, come on, guys. Anyway, cool.
It's tough. It's everyone is going to have a different experience. There's no right or wrong way to go about it. Yes. Sometimes an agency can be a perfect fit for you. Other times it cannot. It's not. Like when I hire developers, I don't want a development team. I want someone because you could hire a development team, and then they bring in some entry level guy that's working on your product, and it's hacked up code, or it's just not done well, and there's bugs in it. I want to know, especially with design and development, who is going to be working on that project. But when it comes to like scaling something out, you may need to hire an agency or a team, because you're trying to scale it, right? And so, if you're trying to do that quickly, you may need to hire a group. If you can take the time to maybe hire someone, train them, and mold them into maybe your manager, and that person manages your own team, well, then you can be successful that way. There's so many different variables that go into it. The type of person that you're hiring, how quickly you want to scale. So there's pros and cons to both hiring an individual or hiring a group.
Exactly. Alrighty, cool. So maybe as a last question, how about management? Because I know you've basically developed your own system for doing all this project management. Let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure. I mean, there's lots of different solutions out there in terms of a project management system or software. The biggest thing is trying to have everything hosted on the cloud. Just a virtual hard drive, a virtual management center. A lot of people use Basecamp. There's so many different solutions out there. I've tried a whole bunch of different ones. As long as you have these things, you need to be able to manage your projects. You need to be able to add your clients. Well, if you're doing client work, you want to bring in your clients into specific projects. You want to have obviously your employees. You need a collaboration area where you can upload files and have key milestones and assign tasks to people. As long as you have that system in place, it doesn't really matter what solution you use. You just need to be able to have an area where everyone can collaborate and everyone's on the same page.
Okay, cool. And you didn't find anything, so you had your own developed.
Yeah, so we built our own system. We were using Basecamp. What I found was the services that you pay monthly for, if you bring on a lot of projects and a lot of employees, it can actually get somewhat costly. So we're like, why not just create our own project management app, and that's what we did. So.
Do you want to quickly share your screen and show me this thing? I mean, do you have access?
Yeah. Let me. I'll show you. I'll show you the demo. I don't want to go into just kind of our project.
the live one, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, hang on. I'll make you the screen owner or whatever it's called. Make presenter, and then.
Let me make sure I can log into this demo. Hold on 1 second.
Am I no longer the presenter? That's okay. I'll tell you what, whilst you're logging in, because at the moment all I can see is a blank screen, not your screen, I'm just going to go and grab a cup of tea. Right back.
Okay.
Alrighty, look at this. Isn't that beautiful?
Okay. Yeah, so this is our demo here. It's very simplistic. It does exactly what we need it to do. We have this is just obviously sample data, but you have your projects, you have your tasks. You can assign certain tasks to be, to have deadlines on your calendar. You can have messages, so you can message your team back and forth, and everything can be, nested within a project. So if you click on a project, you have everything you need. You have your key milestones. You can set up certain task lists. So if you're doing link building for a client, you could set up certain tasks that you want them to accomplish for that client. Here are all of your different messages. You can upload all of your files that you need to be working with. This is where you can manage all of your users. And then we also built in some time tracking as well. So one of the things that we were doing was we wanted to see how long things were taking just from an internal standpoint. So we wanted all of our employees to track how long it was taking to do certain tasks, and so that's why we added this time tracking feature into it. And then
I want that because I tend to get lost in tasks. It's like, all right, just one more thing.
I know.
Boom.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it's also good from a billing standpoint. So if you're billing, like if you're doing design work for a client, a lot of web design firms, they bill by the hour. So you may need to export this to Excel or PDF and then send that over to a client and say, okay, well we spent 6 hours, we bill at $75 an hour or whatever it is. So it's also for that use as well. Now I will say we are offering this program as a white label as part of the Outsource project system that we offer. So
okay.
This is one of this is the software that you'll receive along with all the training that we have inside of the Outsource project program.
Well, let's have a quick look at that then. So what is the Outsource project? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. One second, I'll log in here.
I'm not sure about WordPress constantly redesigning their
Whoops.
bloody interfaces. It's just like
I know, right?
it's like 3.8.
Okay.
It's called Charlie. Okay, cool.
Okay, so this is the back end. This is the members area of the outsource project, and so I'll kind of just go through what's included in the system. So the core training goes through everything from how to create systems. I know this is something that we talked about in the beginning. How to have processes and systems in place to make everything efficient, make yourself efficient, make your outsourcers efficient. It goes into everything from setting up your business, like just setting up like an LLC, just very basic stuff like that. How to document everything, making your outsourcers accountable. How to use the cloud. We talked about that. Using software and resources that are accessible to everybody, not just on your local machine.
Yep.
How to automate. How to expand and scale your business. So that's everything in the creating systems area, and then how to find outsourcers, so where to look for outsourcers, finding the right people to outsource, how to pay your outsourced workers. I know we didn't really talk about that. Hiring, and then I talk about specifics for hiring a call center, hiring for marketing, hiring for sales, web design, development. I've hired people for all different types of jobs, and so I pinpoint specifics for hiring for each of these different types of people that you're looking to hire.
Okay, nice.
And then creating products and services. So how to outsource market research, content creation, voiceovers, website creation, video creation, membership sites, software, support. And so I try to give you specifics, like with voiceovers. There's actually a bunch of different websites that you can go to that you can hire just for voiceover. So if you need a good voiceover for a video that you're shooting or for training videos, so I try to go and give you guys specific websites and resources and tips for for creating products. So that's really all of the core training, and then this is where you can download the project management app. We show you how to install it. We also have our support team. If for whatever reason you're unable to install it following these directions, we'll install it for you. So we'll help you to get that up and running. And then we've also created this done-for-you video tutorial. So like I was talking to you guys before, I created a training center for all of the basics of just day-to-day tasks that were eating up my time. So we created this area where it'll cover general virtual assistant skills. So working with Google Apps and working with Gmail and Google Calendar and Dropbox and Skype and LastPass and all these different software and resources that we use, and then training on WordPress, because a lot of the sites that we run are on WordPress. So we teach everything from how to upload and install WordPress, and how to configure it for SEO, and how to install plugins and themes, all that kind of stuff. And then there's social media marketing, so how to do social bookmarking and how to decrease bounce rate and increase social engagement,
Cool.
social sharing, tracking social engagement, boosting your brand with Facebook posts and Google Plus stuff, and video marketing for traffic. And then we have a section on SEO, optimizing your images, title tags, RSS feeds, all that kind of stuff.
So is that focused on online, or specific sections on offline? If you've got offline clients, how to do that?
Well, I mean, it can really be for both. I mean, building backlinks to an online or an offline brand really doesn't matter, or doing on-page SEO, regardless of if you're an online site or an offline site, it really doesn't matter.
Okay.
So it can apply to both.
Yeah, cool.
Email marketing, building an email list, writing an autoresponder sequence, embedding an autoresponder form, creating a squeeze page, creating exit pop-ups, just kind of some of the basics there. And then site and blog security, so installing some security plugins, updating your plugins and themes, creating backups. So that's everything in the Done For You tutorial. So that this section is basically meant to hand off to your team and say, hey, maybe you're hiring someone for SEO. Well, you can send them, say, hey, watch all the videos within Module 4, or maybe you're hiring someone to manage your email marketing. Well, you can send them right to Module 5 and watch those videos. And so it's kind of a done-for-you section for
cool.
training. The contract stuff, this is kind of just to cover yourself legally. I've unfortunately had to work with a few lawyers in my day, and I have an internet attorney who he specializes in internet law, and he was nice enough to provide some templated contracts. So when you're hiring virtual assistants or for copyright, employee agreements. One thing that I did not realize when I started creating software was that unless you have your contractor or person that you're hiring sign saying that you own the rights to it, they actually own the code, and they can do whatever they want with it unless they sign something. So if you're paying someone to write code for a piece of software, they actually own the code. So these contracts can be a lifesaver, and believe me, just these contracts alone can be well worth the price of admission. So. And some fast action bonuses. I did a hot seat interview with John Jonas, who's a really big outsourcing guy. I give you guys access to my six-figure mastermind group, which is a private group where there's other internet entrepreneurs, so it's a good place to start discussions. You get access to my Link Builders Toolkit, which is an Excel document with about 3,000 high-quality places to get links, so blog directories and ebook sites and forums and that kind of stuff. And then John Jonas was nice enough to give you guys a free copy of his 17-hour work week ebook that sells on Amazon right now. So those are some of the fast action bonuses that you'll get as well.
Cool. And we find all of this at theoutsourceproject.com?
Yep, exactly.
Perfect.
Yep, theoutsourceproject.com.
Excellent. Alrighty, Mark. Very insightful. Any final remarks? Any words of wisdom just before the year runs out and we're all full of plans for 2014? What would be your number one advice for someone who says
start outsourcing immediately. Start outsourcing from day one, whether it is outsourcing just a few hours a week. That's okay. Start to get used to it. Start getting used to the mentality of, I cannot do everything myself. And I did that for the longest time. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this interview are doing that as well. They're saying, I don't trust anyone, or I need to do it my way. You need to get out of that mentality, because if you're looking to grow a business, you can't do it all yourself. You need to surround yourself around good people. So make sure that you start outsourcing and start outsourcing gradually. You don't need to hire someone full time right away unless your budget allows you to. But just start hiring someone at a minimum, a few hours a week, just to handle some of the day-to-day stuff that's just eating up your time. So start outsourcing immediately.
Cool. And you know what? That so reminds me of the story Russell Brunson keeps telling. And I heard this years ago when he was still a college kid. And basically what he said, he didn't use those words, but basically he kept himself artificially stupid. He said, I'm not going to go and learn HTML because when I can, I'm going to spend all my time doing HTML. So instead, I'm going to hire someone to do HTML for me, and it's going to cost me $5. But that way, it gets done, and I can focus on what really matters, namely creating products and selling them. Cool.
Yeah, don't be the jack of all trades. Focus on the strategic part of your business and growing your business.
Fantastic, Mark. Thank you very much. It was really, really cool. Nice to hear the reality of all of this. And I encourage anyone to go and check
You're
out
welcome. Well,
theoutsourceproject.com. And on that happy note, I wish you have a fantastic time in the. I'm not jealous at all, Dominican.
I will have a great time.
I don't want to leave the cold and wet Black Forest. No. Who wants to go to the Caribbean? No one. Alrighty, cool.
It'll be a good time. Yeah, you have a great holiday.
Alrighty, cheers. Bye then.
Alright, talk to you soon.